Princess Lyra walked slowly along the marble corridors of the palace. The walls shimmered with a soft golden light, reflecting the colors of the twin suns outside. Every corner of the palace spoke of history, of generations of rulers who had led Eloria with wisdom and courage. But today, Lyra felt a tension in the air that even the polished floors and bright light could not hide. Her mother, Queen Celara, had called a meeting with the council earlier that morning. Whispers had spread throughout the palace like wildfire. Alien ships from the Zephyr Dominion had been spotted near Eloria's orbit. They had sent no official message, no formal request, only the silent presence of their enormous warships glinting in the stars above. Lyra had watched from the observation deck, her heart steady but her mind racing. She had seen warships before, but nothing like this. The Zephyrs were known for their technology, for their power, and for their ruthlessness. The sound of her footsteps echoed as she approached the throne room. Inside, her mother sat upright, her posture perfect as always, her eyes scanning the room with careful calculation. Advisors, generals, and diplomats from across the galaxy filled the space, each murmuring quietly to one another. Lyra could see the worry in their faces, but she also saw something else: respect. Even in fear, Eloria's leaders trusted her mother to guide them wisely. Queen Celara noticed her daughter enter and nodded slightly. "Lyra," she said, her voice calm but firm, "come here." Lyra obeyed, moving closer. Her mother's gaze softened for a moment. "These aliens are strong. They are not like the visitors we are used to. Their ships can destroy entire cities if we are careless. Tell me who protects you." The question was simple, almost personal, yet filled with weight. Many would expect her to say her mother or the palace guards or the planetary fleet. But Lyra's voice was steady and clear when she answered, "My husband." The queen's eyes widened just slightly, but she did not speak immediately. She studied her daughter, trying to read the meaning behind those words. "Your husband?" she finally asked, her voice careful, as if testing the truth. "Yes," Lyra replied. "Kale protects me." He did not wear a crown or sit in councils. He was human, from a distant planet called Earth, known for his courage and intelligence. To the galaxy, humans were often underestimated, considered fragile or insignificant compared to other advanced races. But Kale had already proven that humans were capable of great strength, not just in combat, but in strategy, in creativity, and in the quiet courage of protecting those they loved. Lyra remembered the first time she had met him. It had been at a university on Eloria, where humans were rare students, often observed but seldom expected to succeed. Kale had been different. Calm, confident, but not arrogant. He asked questions no one else thought to ask. He solved problems that seemed impossible. And when a group of aliens had mocked him for being human, he had answered not with anger, but with a solution so clever that the entire classroom had fallen silent. Lyra had been fascinated then, and she was still fascinated now. The queen's gaze softened slightly, though it remained serious. "Very well," she said. "I will trust your choice, but these are dangerous times. You must understand the weight of what you say. Kale, he must be ready." The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky with streaks of orange and pink. Kale stood near the edge of the marble platform, his posture relaxed but his eyes alert. He had noticed the tension in the palace from afar, and he had already begun analyzing the situation. Even before Lyra reached him, he had an idea of what the Zephyr Dominion might be planning. "Kale," she said as she approached, "the council knows now. They are aware of your presence and of your role. Not just from the Zephyrs, but from anything that seeks to harm this planet." He had always believed that intelligence was humanity's greatest weapon. Brute force could be matched by anyone, but creativity, courage, and adaptability, these were qualities that humans excelled in. That evening, the Zephyr ships did not attack, but they did make their presence known. Long beams of light scanned the planet, mapping the energy shields and the positions of the city's defenses. The people below looked up, awe and fear mixing in their eyes. Kale studied the beams carefully. He noticed a pattern. The aliens were strong, but their movements were predictable. If Eloria could use the environment, its technology, and its people strategically, they could defend themselves without waiting for reinforcements from other planets. Lyra watched him work silently, admiration shining in her eyes. She understood then why the answer to her mother's question had come so easily. Kale did not just protect her with weapons. He protected her with his mind, with his courage, and with his unwavering commitment to human ingenuity. That kind of protection was rare in the galaxy. The next morning, Kale met with Eloria's chief engineers and military strategists. He spoke simply, clearly, and directly. The Zephyrs are powerful, he said, but they are predictable. Their weapons are strong, but their strategy relies on fear. We will use their expectations against them. We will not fight blindly. We will outthink them. Some of the advisors exchanged doubtful glances. Humans were few on Eloria, and their ways were often unconventional. But Kale's confidence was contagious. Slowly, the engineers began to nod. Slowly, they began to see the logic in his plans. Over the next days, Kale worked tirelessly with the engineers to create countermeasures. Small drones would patrol the skies, equipped with sensors that could detect Zephyr energy signatures. Mobile shields, powered by the city's energy grids, could deflect attacks. Civilian evacuation plans were drawn up, ensuring that if a strike came, the people of Eloria would remain safe. Through it all, Lyra stayed close to Kale, assisting where she could, learning from him, and observing the way his mind worked. She realized that protection was not only about strength. It was about foresight, about preparation, about courage in the face of uncertainty. It was about the quiet confidence that said, no matter what comes, we will not fail. One evening, as the suns dipped below the horizon, Kale stood beside Lyra on the highest terrace of the palace. Below them, the city shimmered with life. Above them, the Zephyr ships hovered silently in orbit. The tension was palpable, but neither of them flinched. "They will test us soon," Kale said softly, "and when they do, we will be ready. Not just with weapons, but with our minds, our hearts, and our courage. Humans are underestimated everywhere, Lyra, but that is our advantage. Together, we will ensure this world survives. And maybe, just maybe, they will learn that humans are not so easy to defeat." But Kale and Lyra both knew that the real challenge was just beginning. The princess had answered her mother honestly, without hesitation, and in doing so, she had set a chain of events in motion that would test courage, intellect, and humanity itself. Kale's presence was more than protection. It was a statement. Humans could stand against overwhelming odds. Humans could think, adapt, and fight with ingenuity that no machine or alien force could match. And above all, humans could protect those they loved. As the two of them stood together, looking at the distant ships, Lyra whispered, "Whatever comes, I trust you. Not as long as I live." Eloria would face its first true test, and humanity, in the form of one man and the courage of a princess, would show the galaxy that protection was more than strength. It was intelligence, bravery, and unwavering resolve. The next morning, the air over Eloria felt electric. The twin suns rose slowly, casting long shadows across the palace terraces and illuminating the city below. Citizens moved through the streets, unaware of the silent threat hovering above them. But Kale Arden did not ignore it. He stood on the highest observation platform, scanning the sky through high-powered sensors. The Zephyr warships had remained in orbit through the night, but Kale knew they were not idle. "Lyra," Kale said without turning, "their movement is deliberate. They are waiting, studying us, testing our reactions. That is their way. They believe fear can control us. We prepare, predict, and control the battlefield before it even begins." Kale moved from station to station, checking calculations, suggesting adjustments, and quietly teaching those who were willing to listen. "Your drones need to fly in unpredictable patterns," Kale explained to a group of engineers. "Zephyr sensors are precise, but they can be tricked. Small changes in speed, angle, and timing will make them overreact. Then we can lead them exactly where we want. Always remember, intelligence wins where strength alone fails." By mid-afternoon, the Zephyrs made their first move. Small drones, sleek and dark as night, emerged from the shadows of the larger ships. They streaked toward the city in straight, calculated lines, scanning the energy shields, testing for weaknesses. Most civilians were unaware of the danger, going about their daily lives, but Kale had already anticipated their approach. "Deploy the counter-drones," he ordered. "Keep them low, use the building reflections, and maintain unpredictable patterns. Force them to follow us, not the other way around." The Zephyr drones adjusted, their sensors tracking the movements, but they could not predict the sudden changes in trajectory. Within minutes, the Zephyr's drones collided with energy barriers, some caught in magnetic fields that redirected them harmlessly into the upper atmosphere. "Good," Kale said, observing the patterns on his console. "They are strong, but they are predictable. Now watch the next move." Panic began to rise among the citizens as alarms rang through the city. Kale remained calm. He and Lyra coordinated the evacuation protocols, ensuring that every street, every neighborhood had a safe path to secure zones. Humans and allied aliens worked together, guided by Kale's clear instructions, moving with efficiency and discipline. Lyra directed the communications network, sending messages in multiple languages and codes. "Attention citizens," her voice broadcasted calmly, "follow the marked evacuation routes. Stay calm. No harm will come to you. Follow the guidance of your protectors." That was another kind of protection, psychological, emotional, as important as physical defenses. As the Zephyr probes moved closer, Kale executed the second phase of his plan. Using the city's energy grids, he created temporary distortions in the magnetic fields around the probes. Their sensors went haywire. The drones, confused, hovered uncertainly before being redirected away from the populated areas. Several crashed harmlessly into uninhabited hills outside the city. "Look at that," Kale said, his eyes bright with focus. "Strength without strategy is useless. Even the most powerful weapon is only as effective as the mind guiding it." Not only was he protecting her, but he was showing everyone that humans were capable of brilliance beyond measure. By nightfall, the city had survived the first test. The Zephyrs retreated slightly, their larger ships hovering in orbit like silent predators. The battle was not over, it had only begun. But Kale had already proven a point. Humans would not be intimidated. Humans could adapt. Humans could protect what they loved. In the quiet moments after the attacks, Kale and Lyra walked through the palace gardens. The fountains glowed under soft lights, casting rippling reflections across the marble paths. Citizens moved cautiously, watching the skies, but their fear was tempered by hope. Kale stopped near a small pool, looking down at the water. "They will escalate," he said softly. "Stronger ships, more advanced drones, but we are learning too. Each encounter teaches us something. Each test makes us stronger. When we act with intelligence and courage, others trust us. They see the difference between fear and reason, and when they trust, they follow." Lyra stayed nearby, taking notes and assisting when needed, learning not only his strategies but his way of thinking. She realized that protection was not about brute force or massive armies. It was about planning, creativity, and the courage to act decisively when the moment came. The following morning, Kale convened a new meeting with the council and engineers. "We cannot wait for them to strike directly," he said. "We must take control of the battlefield mentally before they take it physically. They are powerful, yes, but they are arrogant. They underestimate humans, and that will be their mistake." But Kale's calm confidence was infectious. Slowly, they began to understand his methods. He explained how small, precise movements could neutralize much larger forces. He demonstrated how predictable enemy patterns could be turned against them. And he showed them how civilians could be protected without causing panic, turning fear into cooperation. Lyra observed quietly, her heart swelling with pride. Kale was not just a protector, he was a teacher. He was showing an entire planet how to survive and thrive against overwhelming odds, and he was showing them that humans, often underestimated, could be the difference between defeat and victory. By midday, a new wave of Zephyr drones approached. This time they were larger, faster, and more heavily armed. The city's defenses were tested like never before. Kale moved swiftly, issuing instructions to the drones and mobile shield units, orchestrating movements that were precise yet flexible. Drones collided with magnetic distortions, while others were redirected harmlessly into space. One particularly large Zephyr probe broke through the initial defenses, heading straight for a residential district. Kale acted instantly. He calculated a trajectory, adjusted the energy shields, and sent a decoy drone to intercept. The probe collided with the decoy, disabling it, and the residential area remained untouched. Lyra's heart pounded, but she remained calm, relaying instructions to the citizens and coordinating emergency response teams. She realized fully why her answer to the Queen had been so simple. "My husband." Kale's protection was not just physical. It was mental, strategic, and emotional. He protected her people, and her planet through courage, intelligence, and foresight. As night fell, the Zephyr forces retreated again, leaving the city intact. The people cheered quietly, but the celebrations were cautious. Kale and Lyra stood on the palace terrace, looking up at the dark silhouettes of alien warships in orbit. "They will return," Kale said, his eyes reflecting the distant lights of the ships. "Stronger next time, smarter next time, but we will be ready. We always learn, we always adapt, and we will always protect what matters. That is why no matter how strong they are, they cannot break us." And as Lyra and Kale stood together, overlooking the city, they both understood the truth. Protection was more than weapons. It was intelligence, courage, and the unwavering will to stand for what one loved. Humanity had found a place among the stars, and through Kale's mind and Lyra's spirit, they would prove that even a single human heart could safeguard more than armies or fleets ever could. The next day, a heavy silence hung over Eloria. The citizens moved about the streets carefully, their eyes constantly scanning the sky. The twin suns shone brightly, but the shadow of the Zephyr fleet above dimmed the city's spirit. Even from orbit, the alien ships looked massive and intimidating, sleek vessels of dark metal with sharp edges that gleamed in the sunlight. They were beautiful in a frightening way, like predators ready to strike. Kale Arden stood on the palace terrace, his arms folded, his eyes on the distant fleet. He had studied the Zephyr's movements all night, analyzing patterns, energy readings, and possible strategies. He knew the aliens were waiting, observing how Eloria had responded to the first two probes. Each small test they had sent was designed to assess strength, predictability, and the planet's reaction. And each time, Kale had learned more about them while keeping the city safe. "Lyra," Kale said, turning to her as she approached, "they are preparing something bigger today. This is not just testing anymore. They will attack to see if we can resist in full. We have learned their patterns, prepared defenses, and trained the civilians. But intelligence alone is not enough. We need courage, flexibility, and precision." Humans and aliens worked side by side, coordinating drone patrols, energy shields, and evacuation routes. Kale moved among them, giving clear instructions, adjusting calculations, and refining strategies. "Adjust the drone's speed by 10%, he instructed. "Use unpredictable angles and coordinate with the city's energy grid. If they collide with the magnetic fields, redirect them into the upper atmosphere. Keep civilians out of the affected zones. Timing is everything. Brute force is not the answer. Intelligence wins when strength is expected." By midday, the first signs of the Zephyr escalation appeared. Smaller ships surged ahead from the main fleet, moving faster and with more coordination than before. Their weapons were sharper, their sensors more sophisticated. The city's alarms blared and panic threatened to rise among the citizens, but Kale had anticipated this. "Remember your training," he told the control room. "Do not panic. Stay focused. Each move they make, we have a counter for. Each strategy they use, we have anticipated. Trust your calculations, trust your instincts, and trust each other." Civilian evacuation teams moved swiftly, guiding people to secure zones with calm, authoritative voices. Lyra took charge of communications. Her voice carried over the city's network, calm and reassuring. "Citizens of Eloria, follow the designated evacuation routes. Remain calm, trust the protectors guiding you. No harm will come to you if you follow instructions. Lead the enemy probes into the magnetic traps, then redirect them into the empty zones. Timing is everything. Move fast, adjust constantly, and anticipate their next steps." In some cases, probes attempted to target civilian zones, but mobile shields activated just in time, protecting the people below. Lyra's heart pounded, but she stayed calm, relaying instructions to the evacuation teams and coordinating updates from every district. She watched as Kale's strategies unfolded perfectly, his mind always several steps ahead of the enemy. Hours passed. The Zephyrs launched wave after wave of attacks, testing every part of Eloria's defenses. But Kale's planning, combined with human creativity and courage, held strong. Each failure of the Zephyr's drones was a lesson for them, each miscalculation a testament to the humans' ability to adapt. Finally, the Zephyr's first major assault began. A squadron of large warships broke from the main fleet, moving toward the city in tight formation. Their weapons glowed ominously, capable of destroying entire districts if they fired at full power. Civilians screamed as alarms blared across the city, but Kale remained calm. "Stay focused," he told Lyra. "This is what we prepared for. The rest is just execution." The Zephyr's ships fired their energy beams, but many were deflected, and some struck decoys, disabling several vessels without harm to the city. Lyra worked tirelessly alongside Kale, issuing commands, monitoring civilians, and sending updates to allied planets watching from afar. She saw the people's faith in humans growing, their trust solidifying as they witnessed the combined courage and ingenuity in action. Kale's mind raced. He noticed a weakness in the Zephyr's formation. Their ships were powerful but rigid, relying on linear calculations for attack. Using a calculated risk, he maneuvered a small group of drones to flank the enemy squadron, creating the illusion of a larger force. The Zephyrs adjusted, but the move forced them into collisions with magnetic traps and decoy structures. Several ships were disabled, and the aliens began to retreat, their morale shaken. From the terrace, Kale turned to Lyra. "They are retreating. Not defeated, but tested. They now know we will not submit. That knowledge is as powerful as any weapon. That is why I protect you and everyone else here." That evening, Kale and Lyra walked through the palace gardens. The fountains shimmered under the soft glow of lights, and the city below was safe for the moment. Citizens moved cautiously, their fear tempered by hope. Parents held their children close, proud of the defense teams and inspired by the courage they had witnessed. "They will return," Kale said softly, gazing at the distant warships. "And next time they will be stronger, smarter, but we will be ready. Every test makes us stronger, every challenge teaches us something new. They underestimate love, courage, and intelligence, and that is their mistake." Even in the shadow of superior technology, Kale had shown that humans could protect, adapt, and inspire. As the night deepened, Kale stayed vigilant, monitoring energy readings, drone positions, and enemy movements. Lyra remained by his side, ready to assist, ready to learn, and ready to fight for her people. Together they had faced the first true test, and together they would face whatever came next. And so, Eloria survived another day. The city was unharmed, the people protected, and the Zephyrs humbled. Humanity had proven once more that even a small number of determined humans could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast a seemingly superior force. Kale and Lyra stood on the terrace, overlooking the peaceful city, their hearts steady, their minds sharp. The first stage of the war had been survived, but the next challenge would demand even more courage, strategy, and human ingenuity. And as they watched the stars, both understood a simple truth: protection was more than weapons. It was foresight, courage, intelligence, and love. Humanity, in the form of one brilliant man and a courageous princess, had already proven that even against overwhelming odds, humans could protect what mattered most. The next morning, the sky over Eloria was a pale orange, the twin suns rising slowly to cast long shadows across the city. The people moved cautiously through the streets, aware that the Zephyr Dominion had not forgotten their failures from the previous attacks. The first waves had tested Eloria's defenses, but the aliens were preparing something far larger, something that could not be ignored. Kale Arden stood on the observation platform, scanning the distant fleet with precise focus. The alien warships had gathered in formation, each ship larger and more menacing than before. Their weapons glimmered like deadly stars, capable of destroying entire districts if deployed. But Kale did not flinch. He had anticipated this escalation. Every movement of the enemy, every energy signature, every pattern had been studied, and he had already devised a plan. "Lyra," he said, motioning her to stand beside him, "they are coming with full force. This is not a test. This is an attempt to break our will, to intimidate our people, and to conquer the planet. But we are ready. This is when our true strategy begins." Exactly, humans are underestimated everywhere, but that is their mistake. Intelligence, courage, and creativity can overcome even the most powerful machines. Drones were deployed in complex patterns, mobile shields repositioned to protect the city's most vulnerable areas, and civilians were guided to secure zones with precise timing. Kale oversaw every detail, adjusting plans on the fly as new data arrived from sensors scattered across the planet. "Divide the city into sectors," he instructed. "Assign evacuation teams to each. Drones will monitor the skies. Shields must be ready to move instantly. Every citizen must be safe, no matter what happens." Massive warships descended closer to the planet, their energy beams glowing ominously. Smaller fighter ships streaked ahead, scanning the city for weak points. The alarms blared across Eloria, and fear began to ripple through the population. But Kale remained calm, analyzing the patterns of the approaching forces. "They are powerful," he said to Lyra, "but predictable. They rely on intimidation, assuming fear will control us. We will show them that humans do not yield easily." Magnetic fields were activated to deflect the alien ships' energy beams, redirecting them harmlessly into empty zones. Some drones collided with the alien ships, causing minor damage but creating chaos in their formations. Lyra watched closely, issuing instructions to ensure that civilians remained safe. Her heart pounded as she realized the scale of the battle unfolding above them. This was no longer a test. It was a full-scale assault, and the entire planet depended on Kale's plans. Hours passed, and the Zephyrs continued their relentless assault. Yet with every wave, Kale adapted. He noticed weaknesses in their formation, rigid patterns, over-reliance on certain attack sequences, and predictable response times. Using a combination of drones, energy shields, and clever maneuvering, he exploited these weaknesses to protect the city and minimize damage. Focus on their predictability, Kale instructed his team. Use the environment. Lead them into traps. Every move must be precise but always flexible. One mistake and they can overwhelm us. One clever move, and they will be forced to retreat. Then, using drones equipped with small EMP bursts, he targeted the alien ships' control systems, disabling several of them in rapid succession. Lyra monitored the citizens' safety while coordinating updates from the field. She saw the relief on their faces as the decoy systems worked, guiding the Zephyrs away from populated areas. She felt pride and admiration for Kale, realizing that protection was not only about strength, it was about strategy, intelligence, and unwavering courage. In the midst of the battle, a massive Zephyr warship broke from formation, aiming directly for the palace. Its energy weapons glowed brighter than ever, ready to strike. Lyra froze for only a moment before Kale grabbed her hand. "Stay calm. This is what we prepared for. Trust the plan." Kale calculated the trajectory, using gravity manipulations and magnetic fields to redirect the warship away from the city without destroying it, sending a clear message to the Zephyrs that humans fought smart, not just with brute force. The massive ship veered off course, narrowly avoiding collision with the city. The Zephyr fleet paused, stunned by the unexpected tactic. Kale seized the opportunity, coordinating a counterattack using a combination of drones, mobile shields, and precision strikes that disabled key systems on several enemy ships. The balance of power shifted, and the Zephyrs began a cautious retreat. Lyra stood beside Kale, her heart racing with a mixture of relief and admiration. "You protected the palace and the city," she whispered. Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. "Protection is more than weapons. It is foresight, strategy, and courage. That is what humans bring to the galaxy. That is why I protect you, Lyra, and why humans can protect each other." Their message was clear. They had underestimated humans, and the consequences were costly. Kale and Lyra knew that the battle was won for now, but the war was far from over. The citizens of Eloria began to emerge from their safe zones, looking at the city with awe and gratitude. They had survived a full-scale assault by one of the most advanced alien empires in the galaxy. And it was humans, through Kale's leadership and ingenuity, who had led the defense and kept them safe. The Queen arrived at the palace terrace, her expression both relieved and thoughtful. "Kale," she said, her voice steady, "you have done what I feared was impossible. You have protected Eloria from a power that many believed unstoppable. It required strategy, preparation, and the courage to act. And it required the people of Eloria to trust in themselves as much as in me. Kale is proof of what humans can do when they combine intelligence and courage." They had seen human ingenuity and bravery firsthand, and that faith was now unshakable. "They will return," Kale said softly, gazing at the distant ships. "Stronger, smarter, but we will be ready. Each test teaches us, each challenge strengthens us. Humans adapt, and that is our greatest weapon. Humans protect each other. That is why no one can break us. Even the most powerful enemies will learn that underestimating humans is their greatest mistake." Even in the shadow of overwhelming power, human courage, intelligence, and unity had protected what mattered most. As Lyra and Kale stood together, overlooking the peaceful city, they knew the next battle would be even greater. But they also knew that humans had a strength that could not be measured by numbers or weapons, the strength to think, to adapt, and to protect. And so the planet rested for the night, under the vigilant watch of one brilliant human mind and the courage of a princess who believed in him. The HFY spirit had triumphed once again, and humanity had proven that even against overwhelming odds, it could stand strong and protect everything it valued. The morning air over Eloria was tense but bright. The twin suns rose slowly, reflecting off the city's protective shields and glinting across the palace towers. Citizens moved cautiously through the streets, still recovering from the Zephyrs' previous attacks. Rumors whispered of the alien fleet returning in greater numbers, determined to conquer the planet. But Kale, Arden, and Princess Lyra stood ready, their minds clear, their resolve unshaken. Kale had spent the night revising strategies, running simulations, and coordinating with engineers, strategists, and allies from other worlds. The Zephyrs had proven to be powerful, but Kale understood their patterns and weaknesses better than anyone. This was the day when Eloria's fate and humanity's reputation in the galaxy would be decided. "They will come with everything they have," Kale said quietly, scanning the skies from the palace terrace. "But that is exactly why we are ready. Their power is strong but rigid. They expect fear. We will show them strategy, courage, and creativity. Then they will learn, just as they always do. Humans are underestimated everywhere. That is our greatest advantage." Drones patrolled the skies in complex patterns, constantly adjusted based on real-time sensor data. Mobile shields shifted dynamically to protect the most vulnerable sectors. Civilian evacuation routes were prepared with precision, and emergency teams were ready to act at a moment's notice. Kale moved among them, checking calculations, issuing orders, and teaching tactics. "Focus on adaptability," he told the engineers. "Predict their moves, but be ready to change plans instantly. Intelligence and speed will win this battle, not brute force. We are united, and we will prevail. Use the environment, keep civilians safe, every move counts." Kale's calculations and commands orchestrated the entire defense like a symphony, each movement precise and perfectly timed. Lyra worked tirelessly alongside him, sending updates to citizens, coordinating evacuation teams, and monitoring energy shields. Her heart raced as she watched the battle unfold, but she trusted Kale completely. He was not just protecting her, he was protecting the city, the people, and the planet. Hours passed, and the Zephyrs intensified their assault. Massive energy beams fired across the city, but every attack was met with clever countermeasures. Magnetic fields deflected beams into empty zones, decoy drones collided with enemy fighters, and EMP bursts disabled several warships. Each time the aliens thought they had an advantage, Kale's strategy turned their strength against them. Then the Zephyrs made their boldest move yet. A colossal warship broke from the main fleet and aimed directly at the palace. Its weapons glowed brighter than any other, capable of destroying the entire complex if it fired at full power. Citizens in nearby districts panicked as alarms rang throughout the city. Lyra froze for a moment, her breath catching. Kale's hand found hers, steadying her. "Stay calm, trust the plan, trust me," he said. With precise timing, Kale executed a daring maneuver. Decoy drones swarmed the massive warship, creating interference patterns that disrupted its targeting systems. Mobile shields shifted dynamically, protecting the palace while also guiding the enemy ship along a controlled path. Using gravitational distortions from nearby orbital generators, Kale calculated the exact trajectory to redirect the warship away from the city without destroying it. The colossal ship veered off course, colliding harmlessly with empty terrain outside the city. Lyra exhaled in relief, her admiration for Kale deepening. "You saved the palace and the city," she whispered. Kale smiled faintly. "Protection is more than destruction. It is foresight, strategy, and courage. That is what humans bring to the galaxy. That is why I protect you and everyone else here." Their fleet had been tested repeatedly, and now one of their most powerful warships had been neutralized without a single human soldier leaving the ground. Kale seized the moment. He coordinated precision drone attacks on the alien fleet, targeting weak points in their shields and control systems. EMP bursts disabled multiple ships, causing chaos in the formation. The Zephyrs began to retreat, unable to maintain control of the battle. From the terrace, Lyra watched the enemy fleet retreat, her heart pounding with pride and relief. "We did it," she said softly. Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. "We protected everyone, and we proved something important. Humans are not just small, fragile creatures. We are intelligent, courageous, and capable of protecting what we love. That is our greatest strength." Humanity had proven its value in the galaxy, not through numbers or brute force, but through intelligence, strategy, and courage. The Queen arrived on the terrace, her expression both relieved and thoughtful. "Kale," she said, her voice steady, "you have done what I feared was impossible. You have protected Eloria from a power many believed unstoppable." It was not impossible. It required strategy, preparation, and the courage to act. And it required the people of Eloria to trust in themselves as much as in me. "I always knew, Mother. Kale is proof of what humans can do when they combine intelligence and courage." "They will return someday," Kale said, gazing at the distant ships. "But they will think twice. We showed them that humans do not yield easily. Each challenge makes us stronger, and we will always be ready. Even the most powerful enemies will learn that underestimating humans is their greatest mistake. In the following days, the city rebuilt its infrastructure, repaired minor damage, and strengthened defenses. Citizens spoke with pride about the human commander who had protected them, and about Princess Lyra, who had coordinated efforts and inspired confidence throughout the crisis. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer questioned. Kale and Lyra continued to work together, improving strategies, training new defenders, and building alliances with neighboring planets. The Queen often observed them, her respect growing each day. She knew that with humans like Kale in their midst, Eloria could face any threat, no matter how powerful. One evening, as the twin suns set and the city glimmered below, Lyra turned to Kale. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if we had been afraid? That is what protection truly means. Not just weapons, not just numbers, but trust, courage, and the will to act. That is humanity's greatest strength." Kale and Lyra had shown that love, partnership, and human ingenuity were more powerful than any weapon. The stars above Eloria shone brighter than ever, reflecting the triumph of the human spirit. And as Kale and Lyra stood together on the palace terrace, looking over the peaceful city, they knew one simple truth: humanity could endure, adapt, and protect what mattered most. In the end, protection was not just about strength. It was about intelligence, courage, and the unwavering will to defend those you love. Humanity had proven it, and the galaxy would never forget.